Camillo, thank you very much for that in-depth review of Chile's green hydrogen strategy. So to our panel, do we have time for questions? Mada, we've got time, have we?
Yeah, we've got too good of presenters to not ask them some questions.
I completely agree.
So, yeah,
who's first? Any questions for the panel? No one at the back there. Yeah.
Hello.
Danielle.
Hi, this is a question from Mark. How do you teach high-level technology things at such a little school?
Well, that's a really good question, actually. And I think it's an important point, because if we have to gravitate people from remote communities and coastal communities into big maritime colleges for their training, then that just adds the miles, doesn't it? And it's not so good. I'll give you a very brief example. We had to simulate hydrogen leaks from a hydrogen supply system in an engine room. Now, those of us who've worked with the design of hydrogen systems on board will know that that's almost impossible, because in an overheat, in an overpressure situation, systems are shut down and isolated. But we wanted to work always one step ahead of the nearest disaster, so we wanted to simulate burning leaks of invisible flaming hydrogen in an engine space. And we sent in a trainee fire crew with a hose and an infrared camera, and they had to detect invisible burning hydrogen. Well, we couldn't have real burning hydrogen, so we actually used glass jars full of boiling water about this big. And we placed them on the cable pipe runs where the hydrogen would be running to supply the engine. And it was quite interesting. They couldn't see the jars with the masks on because it was just too blurry. And it took quite a long time for them to find these imaginary microflames of hydrogen, which I must assure you would really never be there with the safety systems. And when they found them, we would stop the exercise and say, right, what will you do? What will you put out? What will you not put out? And of course, you never put out a burning gas fire in an enclosed space, but you protect the items around it. So jars of boiling water, better than a computer simulation, and really cheap, actually. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Mark. Gentle in the middle there.
Hi, hello. My name is Max Takahashi from NYK Line, and we are also I have a concern about the seafarers training, as you pointed out, as even just to educate the crew pool for the LNG vessels. Then that ammonia is coming or hydrogen is coming and so on. How the seafaring community can really grow so many kind of different crews in a timely manner. As the figure of the 2050 is a mixture of the LNG or the e-methane or the ammonia or so on. It is too complex. Also, the IGF training is that the basic fundamental thing is quite the same, but it has to have physical training for the extinguishing and so on, and also for the fueling is that part have to be rested on the ship, which is very, very difficult even to grow the LNG crews at this moment. So that what is the key, as you pointed out, that is important, but how can we break out that situation for coming decade or two?
I guess that's for me again. Thank you. Well, I think the solution there lies with the individual projects, because we have to be going to the door of the IMO, and in our case, we went to the door of the MCA, the UK Flag State Authority, and we put a fait accompli before them and said, we're building this, we want to sail it. Help us, legislate us, regulate us, train us, let's do it. And you're right, there is so much variation. And so I think it has to come from the developers to the regulators, not vice versa. I hope that's helpful.
Got two here.
Hello. Hi, David Gray from Morrison Projects. This one's maybe for Brent. Solid-state batteries seem to be on the horizon. Are these going to vastly increase the energy density that we can expect? And what about the safety of solid-state batteries? Have you got concerns there?
Solid-state batteries are still a little bit away from being a commercially viable solution, but the opportunity to increase the energy density with both a liquid electrolyte and a solid-state battery absolutely exists today in what they're doing for test and sample. The challenge you face in safety with solid-state or a higher energy density battery, let's just say that, is that you then have to have the safety systems that can then manage the higher potential event that can occur within a cell. So we were having this discussion earlier today. We were offered a chance about 6 years ago to see a doubling or even a tripling of the energy density of the cells that we use. And one of the negative issues of that was that it will also shorten the life of the battery. But outside of the shortening of life, which presents a unique commercial challenge, the issue of creating a safety system that could manage that much potential energy is something that simply isn't on the horizon right now in terms of real product. So we opted at the time to stay with the lower energy density product, both to give it the commercial life that we felt was necessary for ships, but also to put less burden on the safety systems that we would have had to manage at the same time.
Okay. Ivan?
Yes, Ivan Østvik from Norway here. I have a question to Chile, if he can hear me. Yeah. Did a really good presentation, and I'm wondering if, like we operate ships in Norway, and the cost you're presenting with say production of $1 per kilo hydrogen as out of the electrolysis, and then I saw in one of your slides you seem to be offering liquefied hydrogen at $2.7 to the US. These costs are much lower than what we can be offered in Norway today. So basically, question can be, are you in a position to do some trading to Norway or sending liquid hydrogen to Norway in 2030?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, we are trying to establish conversation with every country that would show interest in receiving our green hydrogen molecules. So of course we will need to have more off-takers. We are looking for that. That's why we have settled the MOUs with Port of Rotterdam. We are now our Minister of Energy is going to COP. It's in COP, and we are dealing an agreement with Port of Antwerp as well and Port of Bruges. So I think that the logic here is to establish networks between the producers and importers. So we will be glad to see if there is a chance to establish relationships with Norway, of course. I don't know if with that I answer your question, or I
Thumbs up from
if
Norway.
you want, would
Camillo. Yeah, they're ready. Anyone else?
Question for Camillo. Does he fancy coming to London and being Energy Minister? I think he'd do a lot better than the one we've got.
Got more questions over there. Yeah.
That was a question?
Yeah. No, different question. I'm Michael Payne. I negotiated in the IMO for the Solomon Islands, and I'm surprised that a lot of nations who appear to be in the situation of Chile, who can produce hydrogen, are still worried about the cost gap. They're worried about the increasing price of transport rather than being able to sell hydrogen at competitive prices. So basically, what you're saying is that you're in favor of hydrogen, but what I hear in the IMO is that most of South America is not in favor of closing the price gap. Closing the price gap by increasing the price of heavy fuel oil.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, because of the distance, I mean, we depend on several export feedstocks, on several feedstocks and raw materials. Of course, we export wine, we export fruits, we export copper. So obviously, if we try to put a levy on those exports, obviously there are some economies that will be suffering from those levies. So we have said in IMO's roundtables is that we just want a transition. I mean, a way in which we could just treat it in a different way from the big economies due to our distance. But of course, we are keen on just producing green hydrogen, and we think that will be in a competitive way. Obviously, we are worried about the levy that the IMOS is imposing, of course. But I think that we will be ready, in spite of if it is applied, to achieve our milestones and to export our green hydrogen in a very competitive way. So I think that is something that is not being settled now, but of course, I assume that that's something that is worrying us. But I think that we will have to take care of it regarding, I mean, the emergence and the urgency of climate change.
No other questions? Well, thank you very much to our wonderful panel. Thank you to you, Camilo, in Chile. And we'll look forward to seeing all that hydrogen on the high seas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.